right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Low Key S.M.E. I'm your host, Sean. It's been a while since I've been doing this. A lot has been going on in the world. A lot's been going on in my life. So I'm trying to get this back up and running. Today we have my dear friend, Kylan on to join us. So before we get started, I just want to give another little background of what this is. It's a podcast to interview people from different maybe career fields or different industries to try and figure out what motivates them, how they got where they are today, what they want to accomplish. So with that being said, how's it going, Kylan?
It's going well, man. Just living the dream, trying to find jobs, same old, same old.
I feel that. I heard something that said when people say they're living the dream, it's a cop out. So
yeah, it's a little bit of a cop out right now, but we're having fun.
No, yeah.
Definitely a lot more interesting than it used to be, but moving out on my own, kind of start my own life, it's been fun. It's been difficult, but it's definitely been fun.
We're growing up, man.
I know, it's crazy.
All right, well, if you're ready, I'd like to jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, so one thing I like to start with is kind of give your educational background. Since I've known you for a long time, I would say out of high school, what does that look like for you? People have different tracks and routes that they go after high school. So what does yours look like, maybe college-wise?
Yeah, I definitely took a, non-conventional route out of high school. Graduated high school. I'm technically a first-generation college student, so I've had a cousin that's graduated from college, but really nobody else in my family has graduated college. Not my mom, her grandpa, her brother, anything like that. So immediate family-wise, I'm the first one to ever go to college in my family. So that was really cool and a really proud moment for me. But with that being said, I graduated high school, started off to the University of North Dakota, where I decided that I was going to be a civil engineering major. I took a lot of engineering high school classes in high school, and I really liked it, enjoyed it, bringing on to the college experience. Went to the University of North Dakota. Didn't really work out too well. Decided that going to hockey games and not going to class, sleeping through my 10 a.m. class, which was my earliest class I ever had, was a lot more important than actually going to class. So it was kind of a rude awakening. Ended up getting put on academic probation right when after my first semester with a 1.7 GPA, failed my first class, got my first D. It was definitely a wake-up call that I needed to do something different and change. So I decided actually to transfer home and go back to UCCS, which actually at the time you actually came back to UCCS with me. So we were both kind of running back home, and you eventually left again, but I decided that I was going to go into the business major. Started in marketing, didn't like it. Went into management, didn't like it. Went into accounting, didn't like it. But I had accumulated so many of these classes, I just changed to the general business admin degree and ended up finishing with that. But again, in my little college career, I took a pit stop as well. Did kind of a study abroad type thing. I went to the University of Minnesota, which has always been my dream school. Got to see a football season there. It was PJ Fleck's, I want to say, third season. We brought the Axe back home that year. I was working in the ticket office, got to take a picture with the Axe. It was probably the best I could ever say that college-wise experience that I had was going to the U of M. You even got to come down there.
I did. That was lit.
Yeah, it was fun. Got to see what campus was like, kind of travel around there. Ended up graduating with my bachelor's from UCCS. Decided that I wanted to continue my college education, that, being the first generation college student, I didn't want to stop at that bachelor's degree. I wanted to set my future kids' goals a little bit higher, that they need to achieve something. So I decided to be crazy and go get my master's degree. Started off at UCCS. They actually canceled one of the classes I was supposed to take. It was an MBA in sport management. Okay. I guess we'll maybe get into that a little bit later on about how I kind of got into the sports field. But it was an MBA in sports management. And what they actually did was they canceled a class in the spring. And that would have put me a whole nother year because the way that the program was structured, it was fall, spring, fall, spring. Those were the only time those classes were offered, and so I'd have to wait a whole nother year and be able to take that class. They kind of rushed the program to where a lot of people weren't in it. I think the first class I took, there was maybe 3 of us that were pursuing the MBA in sport management, and
Jeez.
that's just not good enough for numbers. But over the summer as well, applying to UCCS, I also applied to my dream school, the University of Minnesota, for their master's program in sport management, and I ended up getting accepted into there. So I'm currently just taking some classes there over Zoom, kind of like how we're doing this now. It's definitely interesting. Definitely not what I expected. I've taken online classes, but I've never taken an online class to where I actually have to be there at a certain time.
Right. And that, yeah, I know that obviously it's in a different state, but I feel like that's kind of the way the world is now. Something I wanted to kind of transition to is where you're at now, and you kind of touched on that. Maybe job wise, I know you're working with Air Force a little bit. Kind of
Mhm.
explain where you're at now, and then we'll kind of move forward. But yeah, just give a quick update what you're doing currently.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually kind of got lucky. I currently still work at Dick's Sporting Goods down here in the Springs, but I was at the Park Meadows Mall location. And so I was checking out somebody in line. She was decked out in Air Force stuff. She was getting some school clothes for her daughter. We just kind of sparked up a conversation about what she was doing, how she was tied with the Air Force. She ended up actually being the CEO of external for Air Force Athletics.
Jeez.
And yeah, I got really lucky with there. And I was like, well, do you have a business card? Like, any way I can get in touch with you? Like, I've been kind of thinking about going into sports. Like, I've always been really passionate about sports in my life. And we played basketball together growing up. So I was like, I just got to get back into sports. I know you were doing the sport management career as well.
Mhm.
And I was just like, "Ugh, why have I gone all these different paths? Like, sports is obviously what I've wanted to do." And this was 2 years ago. So 2019. So before I decided to pursue a master's in sport management or anything like that, I was just getting ready to graduate and a whole different career change of what I wanted to do. So I ended up getting her email, getting her business card, sent her an email, and then that next day I got an email from my now boss, um, emailing me to set up an interview with them. Got the interview, got the job. I was just a game day intern in the marketing department there, so I didn't really have too much responsibility. I was more of just kind of all hands on deck person, finding people for promotions, really helping promote Air Force athletics and build the brand of Air Force athletics during games like hockey, football, basketball. So that's where I kind of grew into this role where I was like, man, this is something I really could do, and it's something I really enjoy. I remember asking like several times, like, hey, can I come in and help you with this? Hey, can I come in and help you with this? Can I come in a little early to learn this? Or how about this? And just kind of that enthusiasm that I haven't really had with any other place I've worked, and really just knowing like that's exactly what I want to do in life. So I decided that um, job market for that isn't the greatest right now. As we know, a lot of spectator sports aren't happening,
Right.
so people aren't actually being able to go into arenas and buildings and stuff like that. But I was fortunate enough to get a lead role this year where I was working with the Air Force Athletics digital program. So like I'm working with the hockey page, volleyball, and the official student section account. So I get to tweet from there, get to think of content ideas, build out content calendars, fun stuff like that. And I've really enjoyed that. Also, while doing the marketing side of things, I got to be a DJ at basketball games right now sometimes, which is
Yeah.
really weird because you're not trying to hype up a crowd, but you're still using those same tactics because you obviously want to learn, if a crowd's here, what song do I want to play to bump some energy into this? And how can I get some more energy into this place? And how can I get the players feeling better and like not feeling so weird and throwing them off their momentum? So I've been really lucky in being able to do that. Volleyball season starts up here soon, and I'll actually be able to hopefully do some game production where I'll be doing you know, saying when videos are supposed to hit on the video board, playing music, making sure that the game presentation is correct, and really just kind of expanding my knowledge in that, and hopefully becoming a better, all around worker and understanding what's going on there. Um, with that job market search, and I've talked about kind of my education as well, there's a lot of these graduate assistantships that I've been looking at. Um, I feel like those might, kind of increase my industry knowledge and being able to make me look like a higher qualified candidate and really giving me more and more experience in that regards. So I've looked in a couple of those and possibly thinking about doing that, which really sucks is I've talked about kind of getting started in sports late. I mean, I'm 24 now and I'm
Right.
still getting my master's, still don't have a real job quite yet. And for a lot of people, they think that, oh, you're slow, you're getting in there slow. And it's like, well, I got started late. I'm trying to figure out what I still wanted to do. If I have to take another 2 years without making much money, then I have to take another 2 years to not make much money. Um, and that's really kind of how I've been viewing it. And I really enjoy what I do. So it's not too big of an issue at the moment.
Cool. So with all that you just the fountain of knowledge that you just spewed on us, I have a few things I want to bring up. I have a question. So when you are, so it's a random question. When you're working, the audio for Air Force,
Mhm.
do you I don't know what goes into it, because Air Force, when they do have a crowd, it's not big.
Mhm.
They, from my experience, they're old. Like,
Yep.
those are just the facts. Do you, in that scenario, would you cater a little bit towards your audience? You're reading the room. Um, Obviously, you're not playing for fans right now, like you said. Is that something that goes into it?
It's definitely something that like you said, I'm not really doing it in front of fans quite yet, but you're right. I mean, we're kind of an older crowd. I mean, we get kind of an older demographic, which isn't bad at all because they're some of the most passionate people as well when they're watching sports.
Right.
But I last year some of the criticisms of in-game presentation that were happening during men's basketball would be that the music's too loud. And for generations like us, when we go to a Nuggets game, if that music isn't bumping, we're not enjoying the game. Or if we're
Right.
going to a Broncos game, if there's not bump music bumping, and it's just there's a different part of the game. But for them, they're a lot more focused on the actual game and being able to do that and not have to listen to such loud music. So I would assume that you know game presentation wise things might change. But now I'm playing music loud. We're playing it proud. We're getting hype. So it's definitely a little bit interesting. Uh, we'll see where it goes in the future with other places I go to. Hopefully, in the near future, being able to get a full time position somewhere. But you know, the older crowd definitely is something that you have to kind of cater to, just because they do make up a large part of your fan base. They're going to be some of the most loyal fans that you have right now, and they're going to be some of the most fans that want to come over and watch your games as well. Especially because um, kids like us, why make the 10-minute drive to the Air Force Academy to watch a Division I Mountain West basketball game when I can make the 45-minute drive to Denver to go watch a Nuggets game where, yeah,
Yeah,
and
my
I get
guy
to listen
Kyle
to stuff like,
Speller.
yeah, and Gary Harris for one, two, just
Two,
stuff like
two.
that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Um, with that,
Where obviously,
oh, go ahead.
we hear this stuff, and I regurgitate it because it makes an impact on us, and we're able to enjoy that. Where, as with Air Force, kind of with their older crowd, youth might not be too interested in something like that.
Right. And as we just mentioned, Air Force, like, it's tough to, I would say, reach a larger audience. I mean, I think you shared on Twitter some of the growing rates within social media, which I think is incredible. It's like, what, top
Mhm.
5, 10 in the nation among schools.
Yeah, yeah,
I do think they don't have a great market, because what we think of, at least what I think of as fans, is prior military, whatever it may be. They don't have strong programs, except for like football, probably hockey, but it is a tougher school to reach a larger audience. But a few things
mhm,
that you had mentioned that I kind of want to add on to is, for anyone in the sport industry, at least from what I've learned, and it's kind of cliche, but it's not what you know, it's who you know. Like a big part of the industry is networking. I mean, shoot, you found the job at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
Um, and on top of that, just kind of with the job market the way it is right now, like I found myself even because like we're out of school now, but like I found myself almost just applying for various internships because there's nothing really available right now. And like it is good to always gain knowledge and experience, but someone fresh out of school, they're not trying to work another internship. So that's an
Yep.
interesting factor. Um, I wanted to ask you kind of for people that may be considering, a career in this field, do you think, and you're in the middle of it right now, do you think it's worth it to, go back to school, get a master's? Do you think obviously if you want like a higher up position, that's something they may be looking for, but
Hmm.
do you think it's worth it? And I know it's a tough question since you're doing it right now, but for the normal person, would you recommend doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of just going back onto what you had talked about, um, I really battled with doing another internship versus just moving on and getting my master's degree and figuring something out in the short run. I really battled with that, really kind of deciding that, and then you know having the bosses I do right now and the kind of upper management, the ability to learn from them, and like you said, we've had some of the most amazing growth. I know our main account for Air Force Falcons, they have seen a 412% increase in interaction just on Facebook, Twitter, and
Mm,
Instagram combined, which is insane. Like,
yeah,
for me, I've kind of helped increase, over 100% on Twitter kind of interactions in the month of December. The month of January has been a little rough with COVID cancellations and not being able to have home games. I mean, we haven't had a home game for hockey since December, which is just out of this world.
right.
And it really stinks. And hopefully we'll be able to come back home soon. We had to cancel our Army home game, which is one of the biggest ones of the year. Unfortunately, there wasn't going to be any fans there, but as a digital social media marketing person, you see that game and you kind of salivate over it because you're like, oh, there's just so much content you can have with this, and you can have a little bit more fun with that matchup since it's a service academy and brothers in arms and stuff like that. You can kind of get away with a little bit more of a what you see on social media with some NBA teams with that kind of back and forth banter. You can kind of get away with that, which would have been really exciting to do that. Ended up missing out on that, but really getting into the sports industry, I've talked to so many people about it, and I know so many people that I currently work with that want to be in the sports industry and they want to get moving into it, but they either figured out something too late, talked to somebody too late, or they just didn't know anybody. I think with UCCS, their sports management program, they have so many connections with just some of the people they know that's definitely helpful for them, for people that are studying that. And I've always joked about it, but the sports management degree at UCCS is like a cult. Like you all guys all hang out with each other. Like you guys all did everything together. Every class was together. It was, I kind of called it like a cult, and kind of sad I missed out on it. Kind of glad I kind of avoided that and found out my own way to get into the industry. But like we had kind of said before, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
If I wouldn't have met uh, Nancy, then I wouldn't have been at Air Force. Like it's just cut and dry. Um, we'll kind of get a little bit deeper with that. Like if I hadn't kind of showed you that internship with the equipment at Air Force, I don't know if you maybe might not have seen it or if you would have saw it, but you probably wouldn't have applied for it and got it.
Right.
Um, it's all about just kind of doing that. I have awesome, amazing bosses right now who kind of reach out if they know somebody and I'm applying for a job. Kind of in the process of applying for Arizona State for a graduate assistantship there. Be another 2 years in school, be another 2 years of not really making much money, but that's all where they came from. So they can kind of give me that, you know, bump over somebody that might get a look at their resume. I might get that second look instead now. So that's something that really is super helpful with that. But being in the sports world, once you get in, you got to bust your ass. Like, unfortunately, there's no better way to put it than that. You got to be able to show that you can do what you want. You can show that you can do it fast. You can show you can do it in a hectic environment. And I think that's something that's prior athletes, you and I have done very well, and we can still do very well
Yeah.
while working. So that's kind of a step up for us in a sense. But it's tough, and if you want to stay, you gotta stay on your toes too. You can't get too complacent, or somebody else is just going to take you. And I guess, and that's really like the way in business at all. But in such a competitive field like sports, it's you got to be able to learn and grow as it goes.
Right. And I love something that you had mentioned earlier with, reaching out to Air Force, whether it be, hey, can I ask you a question about this, or can I show up early to do this? Just showing that
Hmm.
initiative, showing that you care, showing you're passionate. I feel like that honestly goes a long way as well. Because like you said, it's competitive, and you slack for a minute, someone else could be gaining ground on you or passing you. And
Yep.
one thing I learned, because obviously when we went to two different programs, but something I never really considered was, because obviously, everyone's watching is what they tell us,
Hmm.
but even just making good connections with your classmates, or
Oh yeah.
just being respected amongst your peers, that can go a long way as well, because you don't know what job they may land. You don't know who they may know. And
Hmm.
if they can put in a good word for you, like that's already a step ahead. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I do feel like a lot of it is just staying persistent, showing up, doing your job, um, and just doing the dirty work. Because there's been a few times, I'm sure you might have gone through it, you kind of touched on it, but like I was almost done with my degree, and I'm like, do I want to work in sports? Because
Hmm.
like it is something I'm very passionate about, and at least in my case, I almost didn't want that to overtake my enjoyment of it, where
Hmm.
I'm grinding and I can't do this, or I can't attend games as a fan because that's something I love to do. So at the end
Yep.
of it, that's what we're passionate about. And I grew out of that stage. I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. Because even just looking for
Hmm.
jobs, I'm like, nah, that's not interesting. I don't want to do that. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I guess that leads to my next question is like, since you are in sports and you're obviously diving deeper and getting more opportunities, what does the future look like for you? Like, what is your ultimate goal? If everything goes the way you plan it, if everything goes right, where do you want to be in the sports industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I would first say like college athletics is where I'm at. Like, I haven't really got to experience the pros and what it's working in the pros, but college athletics is just where it's at. I know just watching video shoots and watching, some of the content that we can push out. It's amazing. The effects that we can make on student athletes' lives, and kind of see myself in that role. Like, oh, I was an athlete once, and I know at least as a college working in college, you know that you're making a difference on their life and prospectively what they're going to do in the future. Whereas in the pros, maybe, I mean, they're making money. They maybe don't have the same enthusiasm anymore. They might be just doing it for the paycheck. I don't want to say everybody does that, because there's a lot of people that play for the love of the game, but that paycheck doesn't hurt either. So, it's definitely college athletics, definitely where I want to be at. Main goal, I want to be an athletic director, man. I don't know what it is, but sports has made such an impact on my life, and I want to be able to be somebody that helps make that impact on other people's lives as well, whether it be Division 1 athletes, Division 2, Division 3, or maybe even high school. But college athletics is where I want to be. I want to be an athletic director. I want to help make differences in people's lives and help change stuff for people.
Yeah, I've dabbled into it a little bit, like thinking about being an athletic director. Like I think that'd be sick. Um,
Hmm.
I I find it interesting, kind of what you said, because everyone I feel like that gets into sports is like, yeah, I want to make it to the pros. I want to work for
Hmm.
the Minnesota Vikings. I want to work for the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
And many would argue, obviously, that college is more of a pure product. It's probably more enjoyable, and in my opinion, I obviously haven't worked in professional sports, but um,
Hmm.
like you said, it's like professional sports would be, in my opinion, more like, I don't know. It wouldn't feel as rewarding. It would be
Be
rewarding to
more
me,
corporate.
yeah. it'd be rewarding to get there because that's the highest level. And
Hmm.
I feel like unless you're in like sales, you don't necessarily just start in professional sports. You have to work your way to get there. So um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's definitely an interesting take.
Yeah, and I know, kind of touching on you again, I remember you had told me that you've never really had a college team that you were really fond of. I know you're a big Duke guy, but even then you had said like, "Oh, it was just like a Duke kind of." And I know you had your sister play at CU, the dual athlete she was. But I mean, I remember you working. What was it, the Navy game? And you said, "This is just crazy," and like I've never had a college team or really have a college experience, but it was just something else. And I can't even imagine what you would have felt like if there was 50,000 Rocking fans in there
Right.
at a normal Air Force Navy game, or like I was at the Air Force Army game. And that was kind of where my click into sports kind of happened too. Is just like, this is it. This is sports.
And I almost want to say, obviously we're younger, but they're more relatable too. I mean, shoot,
Hmm.
it really hit me when I was working my internship. It's like, dang, I'm older than some of these guys. And like that's where I was like, geez, but it's more relatable. It's definitely fun. Um, it's like we said, it's a tough time right now with COVID because a lot of sports jobs require fans or um,
Hmm.
kind of caters to the fans. So it's tough navigating through it. But um, I I'm pretty much out of questions for you. If there's anything you want to add, I want to do a segment kind of at the end of each episode where I let you, plug whatever you want, whether that be social media, a YouTube channel you have, a website, a business, anything you want to add. This is your time to kind of share that and um, promote it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, before we go there, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions too. Throw
Okay.
you off the for your reverse roles here. What have you been up to, man? How's job search coming for you? What are you thinking about? Where you at in life right now?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, I've actually applied for some internships just
Mm,
because what I would like to do is, for me, I would like to stay in Colorado, at least to start
mhm,
with. And there's just not a lot of opportunities for us right now. I've been applying for
mhm,
internships. I did a sports marketing internship I applied for, haven't heard anything. I actually did
mhm,
just a regular PR internship application. So, because that's always something that's kind of drawn my attention. But yeah,
mhm.
it's just still searching. Um, it's not easy, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I know one thing that I was told, once you cast your net wider, opportunities become more apparent and opportunities come more frequently. But for us, I mean, I know you've grown up in Colorado your whole life, and it's really tough. You have a really good support base here, so it's super tough to leave and just venture out on your own. So I totally understand that. But I guess just passing on some other information that I've learned, that once you cast that net a little bit wider, some stuff starts to open up. Have you ever thought about going back to school, going to grad school, maybe a graduate assistantship?
I've thought about it. Me like just having graduated, like I didn't want to necessarily jump right back into it
Hmm.
because I did take the long route. It sucked. It was grueling. Went to two
Hmm.
schools, one of them twice. Like it wasn't fun. Um,
Yeah.
but it's finally done, and I kind of want to take time to reflect. Kind of, I wouldn't say settle down, but kind of just like have a little time off before I would jump back in. Yeah, it's something I would potentially
Hmm.
consider in the future, but um, for me, with what we said about location, I feel like I do have a good foundation here, and I don't necessarily want to relocate, which would help.
Hmm.
But even for like kind of like a smaller entry level job, which I'm sure like a lot of people do, you
Hmm.
got to start somewhere. That's
Yep.
not something I'm really considering right now. It obviously could change, but as of right now, yeah, I'd like to stay here for a little bit. And like I said, I've PR. I feel like that can. I feel like our degree is universal. It just
Hmm.
obviously focuses on sports. If I land a PR something that can propel me to still an organization, a sports organization. So
Oh
uh,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not limiting myself in that aspect of I guess, a position I would apply for, but
Mhm.
sports wise, yeah, I'm probably gonna, at least for a little while, hang tight here. But
Yeah, I mean, Colorado is actually one of the greatest states you can live in for sports. I mean, what we have 3 Division I colleges, 4 actually, counting UNC. We have the Olympic Training Center. We have tons of different affiliates in sports. We have minor league sports. We have major league sports. It's Colorado is one of the greatest states you can be in for sports.
right,
With that, a lot of people come here because it's so great living
yeah,
here, but it's crazy. I know I definitely didn't want to stay, and my mom pushes me. She's like, "Hey, look for jobs in Florida." And I was like, "Why do you want me to look for jobs in Florida?" And she's like, "So I can come visit." And I was like, "What?"
yeah,
So it's always pretty funny to listen to that kind of stuff. But uh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just getting your foot in the door anywhere. And I know we kind of talked about applying for real jobs. I know I kind of thought about it. It was a couple weeks ago actually, and it was kind of at like a low point. I was just like, man, I'm not getting any of these jobs. What if I just apply into like the regular workforce? And I don't remember who it was, but they were like, and give up like your dreams. Like, no, don't do that. Like, just keep pushing. Like, you'll get your chance. And when you do, you'll shine and you'll figure something out. So I believe that 100% for you too. I've known you for quite a long time. That once you get your shot, you'll be able to, excel into that role. And I think PR is actually something that'd be good for you. I think you're really good with the way you talk, with the way you put words together. So I actually had an argument. I didn't have an argument. I wanted to have an argument with my professor or one of my bosses. I left or the Oxford comma, something that you've always like pounded on me about, like take that comma out.
yeah.
I took it out and they were like, put a comma right there. And I just wanted to be like, no.
Bro, the Oxford comma is trash. I'm gonna die on that hill. Um, yeah. So yeah, I've always enjoyed writing. So yeah, we'll see. So one thing that I thought about earlier that I just thought about again that just grinds my gears a little bit is the fact that UCCS has partnered with basically Cronky. Um,
Hmm.
and it's like, bro, like something had to have happened, but you have a school across the street from the
Yeah.
from the Pepsi, I guess, Ball Arena now. You have a school across the street. Why? Like, no, from my experience, they don't hire anyone from there. And even if you're already
Hmm.
in the door, like I am with retail, and you apply, they don't hire from within too much. And that's just
Hmm.
that's another discussion for another day. Just grinds my gears.
Network. It's all about, we'll go back to it. It's all about who you know.
No, I know.
So
And
obviously,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there was one Metro student that they gave a chance to, and they ruined it for everybody. I firmly believe that
possibly.
because having experienced both programs, UCCS is definitely more business focused,
Hmm.
whereas Metro State is, I feel like, pretty well rounded. It's not as,
Hmm.
like I said, business intense, but I feel like I learned pretty similar things on that front. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I have no idea. I know name, and I've always kind of struggled with this too. So I applied to the University of Minnesota while I was at UCCS still in my master's program, just because favorite school, um, bigger name, bigger recognition. But kind of talking to some people, sometimes the name isn't everything. And then UCCS went ahead and canceled that class, and I was like, "Yeah, I should have just went to Minnesota. It's more established." Which now I'm kicking myself in the butt because I'm there now, and I'm a little bit more behind, and I'm probably gonna put myself even more behind doing a GA. But at that point, I'm kind of happy where I am right now, with the growth and everything that I've been doing. Where I'm not too upset if I have to go to school for a little bit longer.
yeah,
One of the big trying to think of the word. Uh, Anyways, one of the things that really is enticing to me about doing a GA is you get grad school for free, pretty much. I mean, they
yeah,
pay for everything, so
yeah.
it's
It's
like
tempting. It's
you're
tempting.
getting a $40,000 master's degree potentially to wherever you're going for free. So talking to yourself, you're like, well, I can either pay another potentially $50,000 in student loans at some point in my life, or I can get it for free and take a little bit less of money for the next 2 years and be able to make myself a more attractive candidate as well. But
Right.
it,
Money
it
money in the long run is what it can
yeah.
lead to. So I have a challenge for you that didn't necessarily share with Harrison on my first episode. But I'm gonna try and see if current guests can outperform previous shows. So my challenge to you is to pass his viewership. You
All
know,
right.
it's up to you. You don't have to share it. I'm not asking you to, but I challenge
Oh,
you to try and out share or outview his video.
it's Harrison Cobb retailer, bro. Like that's gonna be tough, but no, definitely gonna take that challenge. Definitely like that's kind of my job right now is to try to create more engagement, more viewership, stuff like that. So it's
Right.
definitely what I strive to do right now. But I mean, so for him as well, that's the same thing he tries to do as well. But it'll definitely be a little bit of battle. What's my number that I have to beat? Do you know?
It's like 150. It wasn't a
All
bad
right.
day. He did a pretty good job.
If I have to watch the video 151 times by myself, I'm gonna do it.
Is there anything you
That's what I always.
Is there anything you wanted to plug? Handles, anything? Falcons Nest.
Yeah, help us with the growth, man. Follow Air Force Hockey, Air Force Volleyball, Falcons Nest, retweet, like, share, comment, everything that I post. Make me seem like I'm doing a lot better than all my bosses. Yeah, go give us a follow on all those things. Yeah, I mean, go Vikings, go Sky Ma, row the boat, go Gophers,
Yeah,
let's fly, all that fun stuff.
I can leave those handles in the description. So I'll definitely go ahead and do that. If there's anyone that wants, if this channel gets bigger, if there's anyone that wants to hop on and maybe promote something or just share insight,
absolutely.
I would love to have them.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, it's always fun talking to my boy Sean, or as we used to say,
It's very heartfelt.
L.A.
All right. Well, this has been another episode with my boy Kylan. I just encourage you to, share, subscribe, whatever it may be. We're going to keep doing this. I'm going to try to do it weekly. I've been saying that for a while now, but just got to get a rundown of guests. But that has been another episode. So we're out. We're done.
See you guys. Thanks, Sean.